People are too centric to achieving changes. Man, by nature, is very conservative. And I'm sure that a huge part in this crowd finds it scary to come out of your comfort zones. And I'm not standing here to tell you that you need to change or give you lessons on why you need to change. In fact, I'm standing here to tell you that you don't need to change to become uncommon. Now, let me tell you why. Think about your favorite detective series. Have you noticed that the main protagonist doesn't evolve and change by the end, right? But still, the story advances. It would be too difficult to write a detective series if the main hero had to keep changing in each and every stance. Similarly, every individual has his or her own beautiful essence, just like how every cuisine will have its own taste. Let me give you another example. So I'm a person who is doing my graduation in economics, and we always come across situations where the variables in the economy changes. It can be anything. Let it be price, income, competition, consumption, etc. But we don't call it change. Instead, we call it dynamic. Sounds quite extravagant, right? According to the Cambridge Dictionary, the meaning of change is to make or become different. And the meaning of a dynamic individual is someone having a lot of ideas and enthusiasm. From this, would you be an individual who embraces change, or would you go beyond that to embrace being dynamic? Yes, dynamic it is. But hold on. Before we come to this conclusion, let me give you a few examples. So one of the most dynamic personality that I have read about in the 20th century is Bertrand Russell. Bertrand Russell was a mathematician and a philosopher. He was also a logician and a social reformer. To the general public, he was a campaigner of peace and a writer on social, political and moral subjects. In fact, he also had a very long and distinguished political career where he served twice as the provincial prime minister. Well, the sky is the limit, right? But Mr. Russell did not have an easy time. He lost his family at a very young age. Even while he was the prime minister, he had faced a lot of difficulties. And even his admirers treated him with puzzled silence and embarrassment. And this made him feel that he was not good enough to write great fiction. But being the dynamic personality Mr. Russell was, he swiftly swam across all odds. He did not give up. And today, he is known to be the mathematician who won the Nobel Prize for Literature. I happen to remember a quote that I read in the Reader's Digest a few years ago. An optimist finds possibility in every difficulty, whereas a pessimist finds difficulty in every possibility. Mr. Russell was not an individual who kept changing his essence after every passing situation. He was an individual who embraced the path of being dynamic to achieve what he wanted. Another dynamic personality, which we all have heard about, is Ernest Hemingway. So Ernest Hemingway wrote a heroic novel called The Old Man and the Sea, for which he won the Nobel Prize for Literature. So The Old Man and the Sea is basically about an epic battle between an old fisherman and a giant marlin. So the fisherman is called Santiago, and Santiago could not catch any fish for 84 days. Finally, he gets in hold of this giant marlin, but it took almost 3 days of his great strength and experience to get in hold of that marlin and tie it to his boat. But unfortunately, the next day he finds out that sharks had got attracted to the tethered marlin and ate up everything, leaving only the skeleton of the fish behind. But the very next day, Santiago got up and went for fishing again. Santiago's victory here lies in his defeat. Man may be destroyed, but he's never defeated. Yet another trait of a dynamic personality. As Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru rightly stated, success often comes to those who dare and act. It seldom goes to the timid. Not just the books written by Hemingway, his own life is a very beautiful example of how dynamic he was. At just the age of 17, he started writing for a newspaper in Kansas. He fought in the war, was wounded, and was even decorated by the Italian government. He was even the reporter for various American and Canadian newspapers, and he even covered revolutions such as the Greek Revolution. Let me quote 2 lines from Robert Frost's Road Not Taken. I chose the path that was less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. See, dynamic people, they're always on the go. They're natural hurdlers. They're ready to take up all opportunities and challenges that comes their way. They're very confident and assertive. Growing up, just like any other teenager, I too was pretty insecure about my body. So I have big ears and a skin disease called alopecia, which leads to pigmented hair fall, and it progressively advances as I grow older, both of which are genetically gifted by my father. And my friends used to mock at me and bully me in school, and this used to make me feel pretty left out. But it was a whole different scenario with my relatives. They were a huge fan of my ears, and there is a very interesting reason behind that. So generally in Indian families, there is a perception that big ears or long nose would bring wealth to the family. So I was always given special attention and care than my cousins did, because to them I was going to bring fortune, right? Yeah, I know, right? Gold diggers. But all jokes aside, this used to make me feel sad and introverted in school, and one day there was an announcement that there was going to be some audition to interview a very famous personality. None of us knew who the famous personality was, but we all were very excited. So me and my classmates, we went for the audition, and the same day, in the evening, another announcement came that I was one among the few who got selected to interview this personality. And the next day, my supervisor, she comes up to me and tells me that I was going to interview Srimati Asha Bhosle. The happiness that bloomed inside me at that moment, I still can't express how it felt. But I remember, at that moment, nothing else mattered other than the fact that I got selected for the interview and her kind words of appreciation. She told me it was my smile, confidence, and the energy that I radiated which made them choose me. My grandfather, he keeps telling me that perseverance and determinations are the 2 tools to win the battle of life. And today, that same old insecure girl is standing here giving a TEDx talk, scored 98% in class 12 board examinations, wrote articles in newspapers, and even got a letter of appreciation from late Justice V. Sukumaran. If I can be an individual who embraced the path of being dynamic and overcame my worst insecurities, so can you. Thank you.